Merry almost Christmas! Hopefully you have your shopping done by now. Welcome to my second to last video for 2023. Today, I'm going to be listing out the first half of our top 50 favorite coasters. The coasters in this list represent all of the rides Katie and I have ridden and stand as some of the best of the best. So let's get started. With a credit count of 160, I haven't ridden as many coasters as other enthusiasts out there. Even then, we still have traveled to some of the best amusement parks in the country, so what's better than putting them all in a ranking list? I'm not sure. I may change up my ranking system next year to a tier list instead, since some of these rankings are so fluid that it's really hard to feel set on where they stand. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and rank the first half of our top 50 coasters. Number 50, Gatekeeper at Cedar Point. This B&M wing coaster is the tallest and longest of its kind. It provides for a great facade to Cedar Point and also a ton of intrigue to incoming park goers. Gatekeeper takes full advantage of the wing seating and provides for plenty of head and foot choppers. As far as front entrance coasters go, this is one of the best looking ones out there. Due to how much of a crowd pleaser it is, it makes me wonder if Cedar Fair will consider adding wing coasters to any of their other parks. Number 49, Full Throttle at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Although short, this ride is surprisingly forceful. This Premier Rides launch coaster provides a crazy sensation of hang time at the top of its signature loop, and feels like it's not going to clear the inversion every single time you experience it. After that, the pop of ejector you get on the way over the loop is crazy good as well, even though it abruptly gets cut off by the brake run starting on this hill. The pause in the middle of this layout inside the tunnel is a big surprise and absolutely helps make this layout even more fun. If only the line weren't so long all the time. Number 48, Thunderhead at Dollywood. Thunderhead is a GCI wooden coaster with a signature twister layout. This feels right at home with the rest of the coasters built by this company. It features tons of speed and quick transitions, which makes it incredibly fun. I especially love the station flyby element. Unfortunately for some people, this coaster can tend to track pretty roughly. However, when I rode it, I did not feel like it was as rough as it could be. Number 47, Lightning Racer at Hershey Park. Fitting right in line with the previous GCI, Lightning Racer is like that, but doubled up. The racing element on this ride is designed incredibly well and has multiple moments where the dueling trains either experience near misses with each other or race alongside one another. This coaster does a great job at feeling like it has a story simply through the design of its layout alone. Number 46, Green Lantern at Six Flags Great Adventure. This is one that I felt like I had a fairly different opinion coming off of it than a lot of the other riders did. I don't know if I just have some screws loose, but I actually enjoyed this ride quite a bit. It certainly wasn't the smoothest B&M stand-up I've ridden, but it also wasn't the worst either. Number 45, Jersey Devil Coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure. I had really high hopes for this ride when I first saw the reveal trailer for it back in 2019. I thoroughly enjoyed the layout of it, but at every connection between two track pieces, you could feel a fairly uncomfortable bump. After riding Stunt Pilot several times at my home park, I'm quite surprised that this coaster rides as rough as it does. Everything else about its layout does a good job at providing whatever force it is intending. It has strong airtime and positives, and a few small pops of laterals as well. Number 44, Viper at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I said it last year and I'll say it again. I love Aero Omega Loopers. Yes, there is some roughness to this one, but Six Flags has done a good job maintaining this ride and keeping it running as smooth as it possibly can. This coaster is very similar to other looping coasters built by Aero since it uses the exact same cookie cutter inversions that 99% of their other coasters use. It's no secret that you need to ride defensively to enjoy it, but if you manage to do that, you'll find that it's a great experience. Number 43, Twister at Knoebels. I'm making my stand here. I have ranked Phoenix higher than Twister. Spoilers, I know, I can't help it. I'm an airtime junkie. What surprised me most about this wooden coaster was the fact that it was built in-house by Knoebel's engineers. While the layout is definitely unconventional, it still is quite thrilling and feels almost completely out of control. Number 42, Batman the Ride at Six Flags Great Adventure. Moving on to the two Batman clones, we're starting out with the one at Great Adventure. I feel like I prefer the paint scheme on this one, but overall, this one ran slightly slower than the next. Even running slower, these coasters contain some stupidly whippy elements. Number 41, Batman the Ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This specific Batman clone does a great job at showing what B&M inverts are capable of. The rides we've gotten on this were incredibly snappy and forceful. It is always surprising to me how forceful of a ride this size can be. With how fast it was running, I highly recommend to ride this coaster defensively if you want to keep your head. No wonder these clones are as prevalent as they are. Number 40, Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm. Gerstlauer is a company that I really want to like. They do a really good job at providing forceful and compact layouts. Hang Time is a great example of this. The first drop isn't insanely steep, but is still beyond vertical. This is one of those rides that the row you sit in can vastly change your experience. If you sit in the front row, you'll be treated to a smooth, enjoyable, forceful experience. If you sit in any other row, expect an uncomfortable amount of rattle. I'm not sure what it is that causes Gerstlauer coasters to do this. It's a fairly common problem that take away from their otherwise great layouts. Number 39, Riddler's Revenge at Six Flags Magic Mountain. This is my favorite stand-up coaster. Going into this one, I expected it to be incredibly painful. Fortunately, Riddler's Revenge is an outlier to this stereotype. This coaster has a long layout and a variety of different elements. This is another B&M you have to ride defensively, but it still manages to provide a good ride despite that. I can't exactly pinpoint one specific moment on this ride that does it. The entire experience is just great. The second half, in my opinion, is the better half, however. Number 38, Kumba at Busch Gardens Tampa. You know, it's really difficult for me to describe what it is about some B&M multi-loopers that make them better than others. Almost every single one of them features a very similar selection of elements, just sequenced differently. I feel like it was due to the overall presentation of Kumba and this particular sequence of elements that did it for me. Let me explain it this way. I've ridden Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Even when compared to all of the boomerangs, kiddie coasters, family coasters, and wild mice we've ridden, Scream is my least favorite coaster of all time. It deserves to burn in a fire. If you compare that layout to Kumba though, it starts to get confusing. They are very close in height and have the same inversions in the same order. I think it just comes down to placement in the park as well as the speed at which it traverses through the layout. Number 37, Silver Bullet at Knott's Berry Farm. This might be a controversial choice. Yes, I'm fully willing to rank this over the other B&M inverts. Firstly, this list is a culmination of the thoughts of both Katie and I. She tends to prefer to ride less whippy coasters that have over-the-shoulder restraints, and in some ways, I have to agree with her. The reason I have this ranked over the other inverts is the overall experience. It is graceful and has some more intense moments and takes advantage of all of the available land it has to use. The fact that it has a Cobra roll right at the front entrance is also another great part about it. Cedar Fair loves their front entrance coasters, and this one surely impresses. Number 36, Talon at Dorney Park. Seeing Katie's reaction after coming off of Talon was a real factor into ranking this as high as it was. The pacing and overall speed of this coaster keeps it right in a sweet spot where it's whippy and forceful enough to not be uncomfortable. If only we had more time, we would have loved to get another chance to ride this coaster, as we both enjoyed it very thoroughly. Unsurprisingly, this did actually make for a pretty good night ride thanks to all the foliage built within the ride area. Number 35, West Coast Racers at Six Flags Magic Mountain. I feel pretty lucky to say that I was among some of the first people to ride this coaster. I have a soft spot for racing coasters, and the fact that this is a Mobius loop, meaning you go around twice, makes this one even better. Although lackluster, the extra theming added to this ride helps give a little bit more for your eyes to do while you wait in the holding platform for the next train to be loaded. I love the fact that you get a duel every time you ride this coaster, unlike another ride at this Six Flags park. Number 34, Stunt Pilot at Silverwood. It should come to no surprise that Stunt Pilot outranks Jersey Devil Coaster. This is a near clone of the smaller Raptor model seen at Six Flags Fiesta Texas and California's Great America. The reason why I prefer this layout over Jersey Devil Coaster is the fact that it remains fast and forceful during the entire duration of the ride. Oh, and it's actually smooth. Yeah, it has a shorter layout, but the forces on this ride are far greater. For instance, there is not a single airtime moment on Jersey Devil that matches the intensity of the off-axis airtime hill. The amount of whip on this coaster also speaks volumes to the genius behind the design team at RMC. Number 33, Ghost Rider at Knott's Berry Farm. Ghost Rider is a top-tier wooden coaster. It's hard to say nowadays if it is overrated or underrated, as a lot of people do praise this coaster. It certainly isn't one to sleep on. From the airtime to the laterals, this CCI-built, GCI rebuilt wooden coaster provides a long and varied experience. There's also nothing quite like the never-ending head choppers you get as this coaster dives through its thick support structure. Out of all of the wooden coasters we've ridden, this one surely sits towards the top. Number 32, Intimidator at Carowinds. Also known as Intimidator, this B&M Hypercoaster is an airtime-focused ride themed to Dale Earnhardt Sr. It mostly follows an out-and-back layout and is a step above being a parking lot coaster since it sits on a plot of grass right next to the parking lot. The layout on this is just hill after hill after hill, then turnaround, hill, hill, helix, final brakes. I wish the trims didn't hit so hard since this ride crawls through the second half of its layout. Fortunately, it still rides pretty smooth. Number 31, Candemonium at Hershey Park. Now moving on to our second B&M Hyper. This was built the same year as Orion at Kings Island and suffers from some of the same issues as that one. It is a great coaster, but feels like it could use just one more element. It doesn't entirely feel incomplete, but just a little short. Also, how is it that Hershey Park manages to run the operations so slowly on this thing? Aren't B&Ms designed to be easy to dispatch quickly? Number 30, Diamondback at Kings Island. Rounding out the 3 B&M Hypers in a row is Diamondback. This one has less trims on it and the layout is slightly better compared to the other two. This coaster is definitely helped by the fact that it is not a parking lot coaster in any way, shape, or form. As an added bonus, it has a splashdown. Unfortunately, Diamondback has a rattle. It wasn't bad enough to rank it lower on the list than the previous 2 Hypers, but if it gets worse than it already is, I fear that this coaster's ride experience will suffer greatly. Number 29, Mystic Timbers at Kings Island. Mystic Timbers does a good job at showcasing the brilliant design team at Skyline Designs. It is a master at intensity and quick transitions. From hill to hill, you'll get tossed out of your seat every single time. I really wish we had more of this style of wooden coaster out there since I feel like many people are missing out. In a way, this makes me really hopeful for the potential of the GCI Titan Track as a competitor to RMC. I love competition and I'd love to see what another company could do with the hybrid concept. In my opinion, the only way to potentially make this coaster any better would be if it was any longer, as it feels like it's over just as quickly as it began. Also, what's inside the shed? Number 28, The Beast at Kings Island. Depending on the day you ask, I could sometimes say that this is one of my favorite coasters on our list. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but there is something special about the Beast. I can finish the video here and say that the Beast is my favorite roller coaster. I could spend days rewriting this coaster over and over again. Despite this, it still isn't our top-rated coaster. Despite how high it is on this list, the Beast should not serve as an example for great roller coaster design. There are many long sections of straight track, no real airtime hills, and an overall lackluster pacing on its layout. So again, I'm not really sure what makes it so enjoyable. Number 27, Valraven at Cedar Point. This is a B&M dive coaster. These models are gimmicky coasters, but are quite fun for what they do. Valraven impressed both Katie and I with the first and second main drops. The rest of the layout on this is smooth and not overly aggressive, which in some ways makes sense because of the extra weight of these trains. The size of this track used for this coaster is seemingly so much larger than typical B&M track, it almost looks comical. Number 26, Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. If you like speed, this intimate accelerator coaster could be one of your favorites. I am ranking this based off of the ride experience it used to bring. It used to accelerate riders from 0 to 120 miles per hour in what felt like a fraction of a second and took you 420 feet up in the air. There was almost no experience that could compare, and I'm anxious to see what Top Thrill 2 is like with its swing launch. And that concludes part 1 of our top 50 coasters of 2023. If you haven't seen it yet, check out our top 50 coasters video from last year to see how that one compares. We actually ended up riding a ton of new coasters this year, so those have seriously shaken up this list. Stay tuned for part 2 where we tackle number 25 through 1. You won't want to miss it, and as stupid as this sounds, number 1 will surprise you. Seriously? Who wrote this script? Wait, I did? Well, okay then. See you next week. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to leave a like and comment below, and hit that bell icon. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters Nathan Martin and Future Collective. $1 a month helps me bring even more content to you guys, and I even have some exclusive content coming, so check it out. Check the description below to find links to the rest of our pages. Thanks for watching the video, and ride on, Coaster Maniacs!